you know, if you see any footage of Django playing, he's always, his wrist is bent like that, and he's always kind of freely floating over the top of the guitar. And I just kind of make up that it's an old technique that has been around forever, because oud players, their right hand looks the same way. Mandolin players from Italy look the same way. Even other instruments in India and China and stuff. And oud players, they use a really long pick that almost looks like a chopstick or something like that. And you hold it, and it's coming out like that, and it's almost the only way you could play that. And I think what works really so well for this style is you can play fast, you know, because you're just pivoting basically on that, and your arm can rest on the top of the guitar. So, because if you had to hold your arm like that all the time, you're going to get really tired and it's going to be stiff. If I'm playing rhythm, I'll always be like that. For sometimes I might anchor a finger or put some on the face of the guitar. It's pretty much always going to be that kind of motion, though. I don't do, you know, this is like John Lennon played rhythm, like that kind of, you know, wrist kind of thing, and it's not an arm thing either. It's just always that. They call this technique the gypsy picking technique, and you use rest strokes where you play, you start with a pick on the string and then just let it fall to the next string and rest on the next string. So basically you're using gravity to your advantage. You know, you could stay like. The rule is that you never change strings without playing a downstroke. So if you're already on the string, you could play an upstroke, right? So if I'm playing this arpeggio, there's two. You know, this is a famous song of Django's where he played. That kind of two notes on every string, and he does a lot of arpeggios that are that way, you know. But the idea is that you use as many downstrokes as possible, really. A lot of times if you're doing 3 notes per string, then you might go down, up, down, down, up, down. These strings are kind of unusual strings. People ask me a lot of times that they're classical strings, and it's because the winding is copper, silver-plated copper, and that's the windings that's used on classical strings. But the core is steel, like a regular steel string. So they're really a cross between a classical and a regular steel string. And there's a lot of different companies that make them. These are Argentine. They're from France, but Diodario makes them, and Gali makes them, and John Pierce.
What do they call the string? Do you know?
Well,
is it called a steel core string?
I think they usually just call them gypsy, gypsy strings. Yeah, okay. I mean the Argentine is a particular. That's their model. Yeah, the Savarez is the manufacturer, and Argentine is what they call. I don't know why
they
are.
Flamenco strings, classical strings, Savarez as well.
Yeah, they make all different kinds. Savarez, but the Argentine type is this type, and I think Diodario calls them gypsy strings. John Pierce calls his nuage. Del Arte makes them. It's nice. A lot of companies make them now, and I mean, like back when I started, if you could get Argentines from France, that was great, and that was all that you could get. The guitar is made by a company called Gitan, and they basically took some old French Selmer guitars, which is what Django Reinhardt played, and copied them. This one's a little bit unusual, this model, because normally a 12 fret model, or a D-hole model like this would have 12 frets to the body, the shorter scale. Like this one is shorter scale, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's another model with an oval hole that would normally have 14 frets.
Right.
And this is sort of a combination of both of those. It's got a longer scale, but still the D hole.
Right.
And so this is a signature model. And
Do you know the gauge? Is it like a 12 set or what?
this is an 11 set.
Okay.
People usually use a 10 or 11, and
It's kind of light.
it is light, but the scale is longer.
Right.
This is like longer than a Strat scale.
Right.
So the strings are pretty tight.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
And you have a bit of a hefty action so that you can hit it hard. And the picks are pretty thick for the most part. This is a 5mm pick. A lot of times I'll use tortoiseshell. This is like a synthetic version of tortoiseshell. And it's made by a company called Wiegen. It's in Holland, I believe, right? Is it?
Vegan.
Vegan?
Vegan.
No one's ever going to pronounce it like that.
Vegan.
Wiegen, yeah.
How do you spell it?
W-E-G-E-N. Yeah. And I think you can go on online, weganpicks.com, and they're great. People really like them for all kinds of stuff. They make a lot of different shapes and styles, and they're manufactured with a bevel there, so it feels like you've been playing it for a long time. And they're really great picks.